Hello, church family. I'd like to give you a little update on what's happening in our church regarding the COVID-19 situation. We have not received any update from the governments or from any sources to know what actually it means when Jason Kenney says that he's lifting the Emergency Act on June the 15th. From our perception, what that means is that if the law is lifted, that means all the other laws that have put in place also get lifted with it. So our understanding is that we should be able to go back to normal type services on Father's Day, but we have not yet been able to confirm that. There very well may be some recommendations made by the Chief Medical Officer on how we should do church during that season. Even though the Emergency Act has lifted, she still may have some recommendations. So we're not sure if the current recommendations will stay in place during that time or not. So please just pray during this time that God's will would be done above all else. We want people to be safe. We don't want this virus to spread to anyone else. So we will be practicing proper guidelines as set forth. Please know that you can still sign up for our next week's service if you weren't able to make it today and you'd still like to be a part of it. We are still limiting our attendance to 50 people as per the Chief Medical Officer's recommendations. What will happen the following week, we're not too sure. But for today and next week, we are practicing that maximum 50 allowed in our building. And you can register at mykWC.ca and then click on the blue register button. I want you to know this has been a very difficult time for me as a pastor, because I've been hearing from God things that are contrary to what people in authority over Alberta are saying. And this has caused a lot of conflict between me and others, because I believe wholeheartedly I should be listening to God and not the advice of men. But I've never actually explained to people what I've heard from God. And so I want to take that opportunity so that you at least have a better idea of where I'm coming from. This goes back to late December, when God prepared me in advance, not exactly what was going to happen, but he said the enemy was preparing a weapon. And this weapon was going to change the way the church operates. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what was going to come out of it. So I just spent the next few months actually praying to God and saying, okay, what is this? And one of the things he related to me, and I haven't revealed all this to people, but I did reveal a few aspects of it. And the first aspect was that this weapon that the enemy formed was going to be rampant with fear. That a lot of people were going to be more afraid of the fear than actually the weapon itself. The second aspect was that of isolation, that people were going to be segregated from one another. The third aspect is there was going to be a poverty mindset that came out of it, and that poverty would be rampant throughout our culture. So those were the three primary weapons that I felt from God that was going to be released through this weapon. Some things that are helpful to know that in the demonic realm is Satan cannot just come down and kill any human he wants. The Bible is clear that Satan has to go before the very throne room of God and to actually have God's permission to do these things. Now we all know God is good and God works all things together for good. But there are times where the enemy is allowed to operate here on the earth. One of the things to consider is that this weapon the enemy formed could not just wipe out life on its own. He could not just manufacture a virus and release it, first of all, without the help of people creating it. Fear was rampant. We do know that people are isolated from one another. And I think it's fairly easy to see that there's going to be economic repercussions. I do know I need to listen to God and not just the leaders in the decision. And when God is saying something different than the people in leadership, I'm going to choose to listen to God. So what does this mean for a church? Well, number one, we're still at that 50 number. If you want to come, register. I'd love to see you again. We're also going to continue to keep streaming online. Please stay tuned for what's going to happen on June 17th. We may just continue on with registering for our 50 people, or we may be able to walk back to kind of some state of normalcy. God bless. You know that we love you.